from New York, and it gives me their status updates if they updated recently. So I know Melissa just got back from Italy. Let's see if she has a status update. If not, I'll kind of show you what you can do. But for example, there's a text everyone. There's a send email to everyone. So if I click on text, it automatically texts everyone in that specific group. I'm going to go back. What's new? So, how many of you have Facebook, and, if you want to find out what their status is, you have to open up Facebook, see what the status is for that individual person, right? Here, it takes all my friends in that New York group and actually streams all the Facebook content and information that are relevant only, again, to those friends. So, what's new? This actually streams all the information. So, for example, this was updated on Saturday, some 20 hours ago, 17 hours ago. So it can keep track. I don't have to open up Facebook, then I don't have to open up, what their status update is, right? Here, I have a pictures tile as well. So if for all my friends, New York friends, it actually shows and updates all their pictures. And these even show the pictures that I am included in. So if I want to creep on my friends or whatever, right, and I click on New York friends, it only shows relevant pictures streamed from Facebook to what's, any of those people on that specific list. Those are some of the interesting things to me that actually make it personal to me. But anyway, I'm going to see if Glenn is available there, and we're going to get started with tools. Okay. Hey, Glenn, I'll let you speak. Are you there, buddy?
I am here. How's everybody doing?
Good. Everyone say hi, Glenn. Hi. All right, cool. So you got.
Looks like a really, really friendly crowd. I can see all the smiles from over here.
Outstanding. I can actually put the webcam on, and let's see. Did you want to share your desktop and kind of? We could test this out and see if you can go through what you need to go through.
Sure.
All right. So everyone, while Glenn is getting this set up, he is a developer evangelist out of Florida, and he's going to be talking to you about XNA game development, about HTML5 jQuery development on the phone. So how many of you do HTML5 jQuery stuff in the past? Okay. Glenn, we got about at least 60% listed here. So if you write HTML5 and jQuery apps, you can actually create some of these apps to run on the phone, and Glenn will briefly go through that. So bit.ly/CS164 phone will bring you to this site. It's a SkyDrive OneNote page. And it gives you links to all the different things. So how many of you have developer accounts, say for like iPhone or Android development? You either paid $99 or $29 or whatever it is. This outlines how you do that for free in the Windows Marketplace. And one of the promotions that we're running right now is if you have two phones in the Marketplace. So rather than pay $99, go through these steps. You'll get it for free, or contact me directly. I'll give you my information. Dean showed his Nokia 800 phone, and I think on Amazon.com it was originally like $799, but $500 if you want it unlocked. If you publish two Windows phones in the Marketplace, two Windows Phone apps, I will give you a Nokia 800. So hopefully you do not sell that on eBay for $500. But if you're really interested in that, yeah, right? If you're a student, I can hook you up. Some of the things that Glenn will be talking about as well. How many are interested in that, like for real, a real phone? Publish two apps. I've run many hackathons, especially at CS50, from fall. So if this is something you want to do even before the school year ends, I'm happy to do that for you. Let's do like a 3-hour run. We'll create a phone camp or some type of app or some type of hackathon. Let's see. Over here on one of the other tabs, XNA, Glenn's going to go through XNA game development. So how many of you have developed games or are interested in developing games for the phone? You can monetize. You can do all that stuff. All right. There's XNA development. So these are some quick starts. Silverlight app development. I was going to go through some quick stuff. So if Glenn ends early, maybe I'll run through some of these things. But there's a video series. There are code samples to really help you get started quickly. So again. bit.ly/CS164 phone. There's another thing. If you want to go to download the tools, if you go to bit.ly/WP7SDK tools. So WP7 SDK tools brings you over here. And if you do have a Mac, which I know a lot of you have, if you have Boot Camp, you can go ahead and boot into Windows. When you go to that link, click on Download SDK, and you are all set. It's going to download all the tools that you need. VMweb2.exe. Click Download. You're done. And you'll get all the tools you need. So seriously, if you're interested, I'm going to write my email address down here if you want to get that promotion too for a phone, a Nokia 800, which is absolutely stunningly sexy. All right, so let's go back to Glenn. Glenn, you're all set? Chris, you're all set with the tape? All right, so with that, round of applause for Glenn Gordon, please. All right.
Thanks. So Edwin, you'll need to be my proxy. If anybody wants to ask a question, just feel free to interrupt me, or I'm just going to keep going.
You got it. Thanks, Glenn.
So I'm going to show you two approaches today for building applications and games for Windows Phone 7. The first one is using the XNA framework, and the second one is going to be using an HTML JavaScript framework called PhoneGap. With XNA, we're going to focus on this from the perspective of being able to write very immersive two-dimensional, three-dimensional games. The XNA framework is something that's been around at Microsoft for several years. It was developed as a way for people to be able to write games for the Xbox 360 and have a very responsive environment that is programmed at the level of managed code. And it's been traditionally a challenge for people to have game development frameworks that are managed code, because the perception there is there's a lot of overhead with that, and things like garbage collection can get in the way, and for whatever reason, the code that you write might not be able to run at, for example, a high frame rate that a game might require. But the XNA framework kind of proved that that wasn't a real valid fear, because they architected it really well to be able to call down a lot of the lower level APIs and give folks that are used to traditional game development with a game loop and being able to paint the screen basically 30 times a second, give them a managed code way of doing that. So that's been around for a couple of years. The Xbox Live independent game market, or indie game market that's out there, has a lot of games that people have written and published using XNA. XNA also runs on the PC. And then with the introduction of Windows Phone a couple of years ago, we now have, in fact, 3 platforms that can support XNA. You could actually take an approach to writing a game which would make it run on all 3 platforms, the Xbox 360, the PC, and the phone, with very minimal changes. The only thing you really have to consider is, well, what's the input, right? Because for a PC, it's keyboard and mouse. For an Xbox, a controller. And in the case of a phone, it's essentially the touch screen and to some degree the accelerometer. So we're building games in XNA for Windows Phone today, but realize that the skills that you use here, and primarily a lot of the code as well, would translate to the other platforms. So what I've got on the screen, assuming everybody can see it, is Visual Studio, and this is just the basic install from the websites that Edwin has given you earlier. When you have Visual Studio installed, you already have the tools in place to write XNA games. And so we're going to use Visual Studio, and we're going to be testing our game in the emulator, which is this second window over here. And this is going to allow us to write the game and run it as if it were running on a phone. And so that's where we'll see our output in a little bit. So Edwin, if at any point my screen freezes, please let me know, and I'll pause and let it catch up.
You got it.
So I'm going to do File New Project and just begin a new Windows Phone XNA project. Within these template libraries, you have a lot of choices on the left-hand side. So we're going to pick XNA Game Studio 4. This is a Windows Phone game, and we're just going to leave it called Windows Phone Game 2, which is fine. And I'll click OK. So now it's asking me what version of the Windows Phone platform I want to target. This is the latest version that's out there, which is Windows Phone OS 7.1. So we'll click OK for that. Now what it gives us is 2 projects. One is the actual game itself, and the second one is a project that's going to have all our game content in it. When you're building a game in XNA, you can use a lot of traditional files that you would use in other types of games. For example, PNG files, GIF files, wave sound effects. You can use 3D models that come out of products like Blender or 3D Studio Max or Maya, and you can use all those assets within your game. What you're focusing on in the game then is actually writing the code. You're going to have the business logic, well in this case it'd be the game logic, artificial intelligence, things like physics, game timing, being able to save and load content, all that sort of stuff. So in this project, I'm going to simply go ahead and run it. So you can see what the project looks like with no work being done to it. So I hit the run button at the top of Visual Studio. It's going to deploy it to my emulator, and in a minute I should see my game. Now at this point, are you guys seeing a blue rectangle on the screen? Okay, that's my game. So we hope everybody will buy it for 99 cents. But essentially what it's showing here is painting a blank screen, and it's up to us to populate this game universe and then the game screen with things that we need to show on the screen. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a graphic. So I'm going to add an existing item. And I'm going to go out to a directory I have here. And these are just some sample files. This is a background of stars. So we want to display this in our game. So what we need to do is a couple things. First of all, we need a variable to hold that graphic. So I'm going to create a variable here of type texture 2D. And that's going to be called space BG for our space background. And then we want to pull in from that graphics file that texture. So I'm going to go down to a section of my code called load content. And this is where I would put my code to actually bring the content in that I'm going to be using within the game. So here I'll say space BG equals content dot load. I'm going to convert it to a texture 2D. And the name is space BG, just like that. And then the second thing I need to do is display it on the screen. So I'm going to scroll down to the draw, and if you see right here, we have a section of our code that is clearing our graphics device in a lovely shade of cornflower blue. And that's why we got the blue rectangle a few minutes ago. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw that background texture to my screen. And I'm going to use something called a sprite batch. And I'm going to say I'm going to begin drawing. Then I'm going to draw it, the graphic. Oops, lowercase here. And the graphic is the space BG. We're going to start it at the top left-hand corner of the screen, so that's a two-dimensional vector graphic with a value of 0 for x and y. And then we're also going to add this one extra part here, which is the tinting of the graphic. And we don't want any tinting at all. We just want it to be the pure background space graphic. And our sprite batch. On that, and we should have outer space. And we do. So everybody's ready to pay 99 cents for that, right? We're getting there. We're getting there. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is add a layered graphic here of a spaceship. So I'm going to go through the same steps. I'm going to add an existing asset. So a little UFO. And then I'm going to add some code to bring this UFO in. Again. I'm going to create another texture 2D called ship. And also I need to keep track of the position of the ship on the screen. Keep in mind that you can use X and A for building 3D games. It's a little bit more complex because you have to keep track of stuff in the 3D space. And you have to define a camera that is a view around your models in 3D space. But it is a lot of fun once you get into the hang of it. So here's our ship position.
C#, sorry, just in case.
Yes, this is C#, that's right.
So if you know Java, you can make this up easy.
Right, the languages that XNA supports today are C# and Visual Basic. All right, so here's the point at which we load our content. So we're going to say ship dot equals content dot load. Our texture 2D. And this is called UFO. And the name of it actually is in the content project. So if I clicked on this, you would see the asset name down here, which is called UFO. But you could change that if you wanted to. And then the position of our ship is going to be and and it's going to start at 0, 0. We could have used .0 if we wanted. This is an alternative. And then finally, we want to draw it on the screen. So we'll come down here, and right after we draw